All right, today I wanted to touch on a question that gets asked a lot of times. I've seen some people struggling and say, you know what? I just don't feel like I'm hearing from God. I'm struggling to hear clearly from God what He's saying to me. What do I do? And so I want to give you a three-part formula. What do you do if you are not hearing from God? So the first thing is you can use a journal to begin to hear more clearly from God. How do you do it? Number one, get your emotions out onto the page. If you're angry, you're frustrated, you're stressed, you're worried about anything, those emotions stay stirring in your system. And they stay stirring in your system, they block your mental clarity. I like to think of it like Kool-Aid in the bottom of a glass. And as you stir those in, the color of the water changes and you lose the clarity of the water. Well, your body is primarily composed of water. And so as you begin to stir those emotions in, it's like you're stirring different colors in. We got to get those out of your system. Emotions need to be processed and cleared out of your system. So just getting your heart out onto the page, get your emotions out onto the page, you're going to get better mental clarity and you're going to be able to better hear from God. And then you can use your journal. The Bible talks about, for example, your purpose is in the deep waters of your heart. Use your journal to hear from God. Begin to ask questions, begin to write. Get the emotions out of the way first and then begin to ask questions after that. And you're going to start to hear more clearly from God is number one. Number two, are you in alignment? So this is something I learned. I used to work a lot with chiropractors. So are you in alignment? If a body is misaligned, then a lot of times it affects communication. Your nerve cells and things like that are not able to communicate if you are out of alignment. If your spine, for example, is out of alignment, you're not able to receive messages and blood flow and all these types of things if your body is out of alignment. How do you know if you're out of alignment? One of the easiest ways is just, are you submitted to the levels of authority? Have you submitted your gifting to God? Are you submitted in following God's plan for your life? You have authority, government levels. We're supposed to be submitted to all levels of authority. Are you submitted to government levels, both national, local level? Are you submitted, husbands and wife? Are you submitted to each other? Wives, are you submitted to your husbands? Kids, are you submitted to your parents? At work, are you submitted to your bosses or anybody that's above you? Are you submitted? Maybe you have a coach or a mentor, someone who has authority in a certain area. Are you submitted to that area of gifting that they have in your life? A lot of times we are not in alignment because we are not submitted to authority. Now, this is a touchy subject for a lot of people, but if you need to submit, how do you submit? Number one, honor. Honor the person. So honor God with your life. Honor your country, honor your government, these types of things. Honor your spouse, your kids, honor your parents, all these types of things. Honor on every single level. Anybody that's over you deserves honor. It says that God put anybody that's above you, anybody that has authority over you, God put them there. Okay, so you need to honor and respect that person. Now you might say, well, I don't agree with that person. You don't know this person. They have different beliefs than me, all these types of things. Well, think about Joseph and Daniel in the Bible. They were, servants. They were honoring kings. They were ungodly guys. Nebuchadnezzar and these guys building a 90-foot statue of himself made out of gold, these types of things. They were not godly men per se, but they still honored them. Joseph honored Pharaoh. Daniel honored King Nebuchadnezzar. They still honored them. So you need to be honoring the people in your life that are in authority above you. If you are not doing that, you are out of alignment. It's going to affect your ability to hear from God. And then the last one is, the third thing is, you need to clear out your conscience. Okay, our conscience is one of the ways that God speaks to us on a regular basis. So if your conscience has things on it, you got to get them off of your conscience. So first thing to start with, forgiveness. Is there anybody you need to forgive or reconcile relationships? We've been commanded to forgive by God. God's forgiven us. We've been commanded to forgive each other. You need to forgive yourself. This is a big one that people forget. A lot of times we hold on to guilt and condemnation and shame and these types of things. We have to forgive ourselves, receive forgiveness from God, forgive ourselves. Let that flow through you to begin to reconcile and to forgive other people in your life is number one. Get that off of your conscience. Reconcile any relationships that need to be reconciled. And then anything you know you need to start doing. Anything you know you need to stop doing. Maybe you need to start exercising. Maybe you need to start eating better. Maybe you need to stop eating so much junk food. Maybe you need to renew a certification. Anything that's on your conscience that keeps coming up, that you keep saying, I know I need to do that. I know I need to renew this thing. I know I need to take this step. I know I need to cancel that. I know I need to pay this bill. Anything that's on your conscience that you've been putting off, that you've been waiting to do, you've been procrastinating on, is eating away at your ability to hear from God. Okay, so we got to get your conscience cleaned out. I learned this actually in my book, 7 Days with Jesus. We talk about this process. There's a 10-day period every year from the Feast of Trumpets, to the Day of Atonement, there's a 10-day period called the 10 Days of Awe. And one of the things they do in that time is they forgive, they restore relationships, and you clean off anything that's on your conscience. And almost always, you go through that 10-day process, you will get some of the clearest words you have ever heard from God on that 10th day. And it's all through this process of forgiving, reconciling, clearing out your conscience. You do that and you honor people, you honor the levels of authority in your life, and you use a journal to clear out any bitterness, resentment, anger, stress, frustration. You clear all that out, and you use your journal to get in and ask God questions. You do those three things, and I can almost guarantee you that you are going to start to hear more clearly from God. But the hard part of this is that it takes courage. It takes humility to submit. It takes courage to submit. It takes humility and courage to forgive and to reconcile and to take action and to do these things that you've been putting off and procrastinating on. But if we want to restore our ability to hear from God, if we really think that hearing from God is one of the keys to making our life better and having a breakthrough in our life, then these are things that we need to be doing on a regular basis. So if you ever get to this place where you're struggling, like, you know what, I'm not hearing from God, I don't know what he's trying to tell me, do those three things and you will be amazed almost always. I would love to hear your stories here. So leave a comment if this is helpful for you. If you have a story about a time when you did this, or you're going to try it out today and see how it goes, leave a comment down below, share it, like it. Let me know that this is helpful for you as well. If you want to learn more about all this stuff, probably the best place to start, you can go to danielfoley.net. And I've got a free course called 40-Day Refresh. It restores your ability to hear clearly so that you come out with a one-year plan of the direction you feel like God wanting you to take in your life. That's probably the best place to start. Or you can get my book, you can get a free copy of my book, 7 Dates with Jesus, where we talk a lot about hearing from God. How do you know if you're hearing from God? These types of things. You can get a copy of my book, 7 Dates with Jesus there. You can go to danielfoley.net to check it out.